Today, as part of making scrub caps, I'm making a bunch of ties. And the hardest part about this is actually turning them. So I have these ties, they're going to end up about an inch wide, and they're sewn together on one end. And I found that this works easier for me than trying to use a turning tool or a pair of scissors. So there's two ways to do this. When you first start sewing, you can leave when you end, at the closed end, you can leave a tail and just not trim it. Or if you've already done that and trimmed it, you can just cut a new piece of thread. And I'm going to double it and then fold it in half. So it's actually going to end up like quadrupled because I want to make sure that it doesn't break on me. And I'm going to make a knot and then cut off some of this extra if you want. It's going to be on the inside, so it won't matter. And then the trick is that I'm going to come with my needle in between a couple of my stitches. The hard part is the thick needle doesn't like to go through the fabric. So that's why I'm going to do it between the stitches. And if it doesn't feel like it's going to stay the knot, you might want to take a couple of anchoring stitches there, but this feels pretty secure. Then I'm going to take my needle and go through the edge so that my needle is inside the right side. And this is kind of like what you do with a safety pin and a casing. So you can just kind of push the needle down and pull it. And then when you run out of thread, it's going to start pulling this. I find it helps if you kind of tuck it to get it started. Tuck it in so that it can grab it. And then just like you're threading a casing, just grab onto that needle and then slip this fabric up and turn it. Just be a little bit gentle because you don't want the thread to break. That happened to me on my last one, and luckily I was about halfway through, but it was still kind of difficult. So just don't be too rough. You could also use a thicker thread if you had like a crochet cotton. And then we're just going to pull this. So related to that, the other tip is if you're doing a bunch, you may want to change thread after you do several so that the thread doesn't get weakened, because I think that's what happened to me. All right, I'm getting close. So I'm just going to pull my needle and keep pulling. So you can kind of pinch it and pull from both sides. And then slide the rest of it, and then you can just trim this. Don't worry about that knot, it's going to be hidden. And then you can use that needle if you want to poke out, your corners so that they're nice and sharp. And there you go. That's a little bit easier way to turn your ties so that it doesn't take forever.